HOA president breaks into my backyard and organizes a full spa day for the whole neighborhood, while I'm not home. The moment I pulled into my driveway, I knew something was wrong. Wet footprints trailed up the pavement, the air was thick with lavender and eucalyptus, and laughter echoed from my backyard. My backyard, where no one was supposed to be. Heart pounding, I rushed to my side gate, finding it slightly ajar. I always locked that gate. I pushed it open and nearly dropped my keys. At least 100 people lounged in my yard. Some floated in my pool, others soaked their feet in tubs of rose-petaled water. A couple of women in robes applied face masks, while someone popped a bottle of champagne. And there, in the center of it all, next to a makeshift massage table, stood Sarah, the self-appointed president of the HOA. I clenched my fists. What is going on here? Sarah turned, beaming as if she hadn't just broken into my backyard and turned it into a spa. "Oh, you're home early," she said cheerfully, completely unfazed. I could feel my eye twitch. This was going to be a problem. For a few seconds, I was too stunned to speak. My backyard, my private backyard, had been turned into a full-blown relaxation retreat without my permission. I scanned the scene again, my mind racing between disbelief and outright rage. Foot tubs, scented candles, freshly cut cucumber slices floating in water pitchers. This wasn't just a casual hangout. This was organized. Sarah clapped her hands together, beaming. "I was hoping you'd get back in time to enjoy the relaxation package. We have foot soaks, aromatherapy, and, of course, complimentary facials." I blinked. Was she serious? My jaw clenched as I took a slow step forward. "Sarah," I said as calmly as possible, "why is there an entire spa event happening in my backyard?" She gave a light laugh, as if I was the crazy one for asking. "Oh, don't worry. It's all part of our new HOA Community Wellness Initiative. We needed a serene, comfortable setting. And well, your backyard was perfect for it. My backyard. Perfect for their event. Without my consent." I exhaled sharply. "So let me get this straight. You and the HOA decided to break into my yard, set up a full spa day, invite half the neighborhood, and now you expect me to just go along with it?" Sarah waved a hand dismissively. "It's not breaking in if it's for the good of the community. Plus, I knew you wouldn't mind. It's all in the spirit of togetherness." The audacity was unreal. One of the women in the pool, my pool, sighed contentedly. "Oh, this is so relaxing. You should try the eucalyptus scrub. It's divine." I turned to Sarah, barely keeping my composure. "You do realize this is trespassing, right? Illegal entry? Not to mention using my utilities, my water, my electricity?" She waved me off again. "Oh, don't be such a buzzkill. You're making such a big deal out of nothing. It's not like we're harming anything. We even brought our own towels." She gestured toward a pile of pristine, fluffy white towels stacked neatly by my patio furniture. I took a deep breath, my fists tightening at my sides. "Sarah, I want everyone out. Now." A couple of the guests shot me dirty looks, their pampering rudely interrupted. Sarah, however, simply sighed dramatically, as if I was the unreasonable one. "Fine, if you insist. But you could at least show some community spirit." I gritted my teeth. "You have 5 minutes." Sarah pursed her lips, but then clapped her hands again. "All right, everyone, wrap it up. Looks like someone doesn't appreciate the finer things in life." One by one, the guests slowly gathered their things, some of them mumbling complaints as they stepped out of my pool or drained their foot baths. I folded my arms, waiting, watching, making sure every single person left my yard. But something told me this wasn't over. The last of the so-called spa guests finally trickled out of my backyard, leaving behind wet footprints, empty champagne glasses, and the faint scent of essential oils. My once private retreat looked like a war zone of relaxation, a paradox that made my blood boil. Sarah lingered by the gate, adjusting her robe as if she hadn't just been evicted from someone else's property. You know, you could have just joined in, instead of making this a whole thing. It was a community event after all. I let out a slow breath through my nose, struggling to contain my temper. Sarah, you broke into my yard. You let people into my pool, used my electricity, my water, and somehow think I'm the problem here. She rolled her eyes dramatically. Oh, please. You act like we trashed the place. If anything, we elevated it. Some of the ladies were even saying how much potential this space has. Maybe the HOA should start hosting regular events here. My jaw dropped. You have got to be kidding me. She patted me on the arm condescendingly. Think about it. Imagine how much property value could increase if we turned this into a designated community relaxation space. A little effort and a better attitude on your part, and this could be something really special. I took a step back, shaking my head. Sarah, if you, or anyone else, sets foot on my property again, I will be calling the police. HOA or not, this is private property. Sarah let out an exaggerated sigh. Fine. Be difficult. But don't come crying to me when you realize how much community engagement you just threw away. With that, she finally strutted off, leaving me standing there, fists clenched at my sides. I looked around at the mess she and her so-called spa guests had left behind. This wasn't over. The next morning, I woke up to something new, an official HOA complaint taped to my front door. I ripped it off, my stomach twisting in disbelief as I read the accusation, failure to comply with HOA-sponsored community engagement initiatives. Sarah wasn't backing down. She was doubling down. I stormed back inside, flipping through the pages attached to the notice. It was filled with vague HOA bylaws, none of which actually applied to me. At the bottom, there was a fine, $500 for non-compliance. My blood boiled. Before I could even decide my next move, my phone buzzed. It was my neighbor, Mrs. Patel. "Did you check your door?" she asked, her voice laced with annoyance. "Yeah, Sarah's really pushing it this time," I muttered. "You're not the only one," she sighed. "She put notices on half the block. Anyone who disrupted the event is getting fined. And guess what? My husband got one too, because he called the HOA last night to complain about the noise." I clenched my jaw. This wasn't just about me anymore. Sarah was punishing everyone who didn't fall in line with her ridiculous community wellness initiative. That's when I made my decision. I grabbed my phone and scrolled through my contacts until I found the number I needed. The local police department's non-emergency line. If Sarah wanted to play dirty, she was about to find out what real consequences looked like. I took a deep breath and hit call. I expected the police to brush off my complaint, but within the hour, a patrol car pulled up in front of my house. A stern-looking officer stepped out, clipboard in hand. "Morning," he said, adjusting his sunglasses. "We got a report about trespassing and property misuse?" I nodded, handing him the stack of HOA fines I'd received. Not just trespassing, organized trespassing. The HOA president, Sarah, held an entire unauthorized event in my backyard without my consent. When I told her to leave, she retaliated by slapping me and half the neighborhood with bogus fines. The officer flipped through the papers, his expression hardening. She actually put this in writing? Charging people for not participating in an HOA event? Yep. Mrs. Patel and a few other neighbors had gathered outside by now, murmuring in agreement. She fined my husband for calling in a noise complaint, Mrs. Patel added. This has gone too far. The officer sighed and radioed in. We need to speak with this Sarah. Is she home? I smirked. Oh, she never goes far when she's micromanaging the neighborhood. Sure enough, Sarah was outside chatting with another resident when the officer walked up to her. She barely had time to flash her usual I'm in charge smile before he held up my complaint. Ma'am, we need to discuss an incident regarding unauthorized entry onto private property. Sarah's face twitched, but she quickly recovered. Oh, officer, this is just a misunderstanding. You see, our HOA bylaws allow for community use of designated spaces, and the officer cut her off. Designated spaces, meaning common areas, not someone's private backyard. Her smile faltered. Well, technically, it was for the benefit of the community. That's not how the law works, ma'am. The officer pulled out a pen. Do you have written consent from the homeowner to hold this event? Sarah pursed her lips. Well, no, but... So, you admit to using his property without permission? The murmurs from the gathered neighbors grew louder. Sarah's face turned red as the officer jotted something down on his clipboard. I'm going to need you to come down to the station to answer some questions. And based on these fines you've issued, we'll be looking into whether the HOA has been enforcing illegal penalties. Sarah's jaw dropped. Wait, you're investigating me? Ma'am, unauthorized entry is a crime. Retaliating against residents with fines might also be. If you have legal documentation supporting your actions, you'll have a chance to present it. I crossed my arms, watching as Sarah's confidence crumbled. She glanced around, hoping for support, but no one spoke up. The same people she had bullied for years were now silently watching her downfall. She swallowed hard, her voice quieter now. I didn't mean for it to get out of hand. The officer raised an eyebrow. Then you should have thought about that before throwing a spa day in someone else's backyard. Sarah's perfect, composed exterior finally cracked as reality set in. And for the first time, I saw something in her eyes I never thought I would. Fear. Sarah had always carried herself like she was untouchable, the queen of the HOA, the unchallenged ruler of our quiet neighborhood. But as the officer led her away for questioning, she didn't look like a queen anymore. She looked defeated. The entire street had gathered by now, watching the scene unfold. Some whispered, others shook their heads, and a few openly smiled. No one was coming to Sarah's defense. Not this time. Mrs. Patel stepped beside me, arms crossed. Didn't think I'd live to see the day she got what was coming to her. Me neither, I admitted. But I'll sleep better, knowing she won't be treating my backyard like a community park ever again. The officer turned back to the crowd. Anyone else who received a fine from Sarah should bring their complaints to the HOA review board. Given the circumstances, there will likely be an official audit. That was the final nail in the coffin. Sarah, still standing beside the police car, gasped, "You can't do that! I am the HOA." The officer barely glanced at her. "Not for long, ma'am." Murmurs of approval rippled through the crowd. People were already making plans to file official complaints, and I had no doubt that by the end of the week, Sarah would no longer be in power. She was finished. And just like that, the neighborhood that had suffered under her reign of pettiness, fines, and entitled demands finally got their justice. As the police car pulled away, I let out a breath I hadn't realized I was holding. My backyard was mine again. My home was mine again. And best of all, The HOA's iron grip on the community had just been broken.